Good afternoon, and we are live here in Lagos to discuss. Oh shit. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us live as we speak to the MD of Filmone Entertainment. We have a lot of things to talk about today, but we're basically focusing on the aftermath of cinemas once this COVID-19 ends. I'm trying to connect to them right now. So please exercise some patience with us. Sorry. Do I look better now? Going. So we're waiting on the film one, Mr. Moses Babatope.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
How are you doing? Sorry, I'm trying to set this up.
Yes, sir. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much. I apologize. I was trying to work out the connection, and for some reason I was struggling a bit.
Okay, no problem.
I'm still struggling a little bit, but I'm sure I'll be fine.
Okay, no problem, sir. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
So we jump right into it.
Sure.
So what do you think my first question will be?
What do I think about?
What do you think my first question will be?
I'm suspecting it will be about the impact, of COVID-19 on cinemas. I imagine that's what's been on everyone's lips at the moment, and I think it comes from a very good place. But it's up to you. You're the journalist, and thank you for the platform.
Okay. So my very first question would be, what has been your daily routine since the pandemic began? I imagine that you don't go to the office all the time. So what do you do at home at this time?
All right. Again, thank you for having me and giving us the platform to speak about the business and what we do. Look, for us, work hasn't stopped. It's really about finding ways, strategizing, having meetings, on how we can make the cinema experience even better, even more compelling, once we're ready to come back. As you know, we have a media entertainment group that consists of a cinema business, but also a production and distribution business. Whilst the cinemas are closed, we're working hard at ensuring for our producers and content creators that we're able to find your other platforms, to exploit their rights, the rights of their films on. So that takes a good chunk of the day. So we're always having Zoom calls, WhatsApp calls, with various partners, talking with the team on a regular basis. There are a lot of emails, flying around. And you can imagine with the lockdown and not being able to move around, it makes it a bit more difficult, to get some things done. But it's eventful. The period has meant that you're able to think a little bit more deeply about what actions you are supposed to take. So hopefully we're making more quality decisions.
All right. So my second question would be, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your cinema and movie production mode of operations?
Okay, so it's been a real challenge for us. I don't want to paint it more how do I call it, more dramatic than it already is. We've been closed now. We're going into the 7th week that we've been closed. But I say to a lot of people that ask about the impact has been far beyond the closed period. It's been at least 4 or 5 weeks before we were closed. The sentiment from China and from are you able to hear me well?
Yes, clearly, sir.
Okay, great. The sentiment from China, end of December into January, and when it got into Europe early February, meant that people started becoming more cautious, about where to go, public spaces and all that stuff. So the impact has been far beyond our eventual closure at the end of March. So it's been like we said, for a lot of the cinemas, our cinemas, we've closed all 12 sites for going to 7 weeks now. And as you know, I also double as the secretary of the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria, and all our member cinemas are closed currently. So it's affected in various ways. And you say the mode of doing business, there is essentially no business to do. There's essentially no business to do in the cinema space. The best business we're doing, and I have to pay homage to a lot of my colleagues, is that we're talking a lot more. We're putting our business differences aside, and we are looking at ways we can come together to ensure that we keep this, sector alive. Remember, it's a sector in modern cinema terms that is 15 years, So it's in our interest to ensure that that COVID doesn't beat us and COVID doesn't, lead to our disappearance. So we're all working together, to ensure that we all come back strong.
Okay, so I imagine that with the COVID-19 saga, there has to be a reaction from your partners, your sponsors, people who you associate with, just to ensure that the business goes on. What do you have to say about that?
When you say reaction, I have to say, and I have to again commend a lot of people involved in the industry, the amount of solidarity, amount of, for me, the kindred spirit, that has been displayed. People have been genuinely concerned, about, first of all, how we're faring. So they've been concerned on a personal level, they've been concerned on a professional level, and I think what has been gratifying is even from the audiences, the experience, has been taken away from them. The experience to socialize, to talk about, not necessarily even just going to watch the film, talk about popcorn, for example, or hang out or meet with someone and have a meeting. So we've got a lot of positive messaging that's shown us that, we've done a good job in a short space of time to, imprint the cinema going experience in the minds of people. So to summarize the answer to your question, our partners have been very, very supportive and wishing us the very best, to come back strong.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So I'd like you to speak about the lessons that your organization has learned, with the fragility of social systems based on global epidemic. What have you learned as an organization?
So one of the benefits of the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria, which I have to keep plugging in, because if we're going to come out of this, we have to work as an industry together. If we're going to really if we're going to get the attention of the government, we're going to get the support of the government, if we're going to get people to really be confident that, cinemas are a safe place to be, we have to work together. So one of the things that we've been able to do is liaise with our international partners and other, associations, that maybe have gone through crisis before. Nobody has gone through the COVID situation before, but people have gone through economic crisis and all that. And just look at what best practices they are also doing, so that we're not also operating in a vacuum, So we've been able to have a number of webinars, a number of, discussion points. We belong to an entrepreneur network, that from a company point of view, Endeavor, that has also helped us with resources that we're able to try and navigate this storm. So a number of things, a number of resources have been available to us, to just equip us, on how to go about the challenge.
Okay, so what are the roles that technology is playing in the new reality? I mean, technology is good for everyone. So what roles are technology playing in the new reality of this business during these unpredictable times?
So, I'm not, people will jump to say technology is a threat to the cinema business. I think that, again, once we come out of this, you will find out that we'll use technology, advantageously. Online ticketing, for example, was something that was new to Nigeria. A number of, we came up with it, and a number of our colleagues in the cinema industry have come up with it. I think you'll see a lot more of that. A lot more of, okay, I want maybe less and less social interaction, but I still want the cinema experience. So what am I going to do? Rather than queue up, I will buy tickets on time, online. I think that we'll see a lot of online, purchasing of tickets. I think that we'll also see online purchasing of retail products. I think that would just make for an efficient, cinema operation system. I'm not going to tell you here that, I see technology eroding cinemas, because I don't believe that that's the case. Even as a distributor, my role is to optimize all the revenue streams, and cinema is an important part, particularly for the premium content. So I don't want to see cinema revenues disappear. What we want is to, optimize cinema revenues and ensure that it amplifies other windows like the digital platforms, the Netflix, Amazons, Irokos, Showmax of this world, and then other platforms, like TV and other platforms like airlines. That's the idea. So I believe that technology will enhance the cinema going experience, and it will continue to do well with the streaming and home entertainment experience.
Okay. So let's talk about revenue. What would you consider your revenue loss at this time? COVID is, with the new laws, social distancing, no public gatherings and all that. So that means the cinemas are on lockdown too. So what would you consider a revenue loss at this time? Like, can you give us figure?
Yeah, well, of course, but the estimates I make, and I've been talking to some of my colleagues, a lot of them even think it's more than that. But just to be even a little conservative, again, the impact for us has been pre the lockdown. It's important to make that distinction, like pre the lockdown. So we think that the impact was from the middle of February, till now. So and the way we analyze it is very simple. We have pillars that really drive, the business. So big films would drive cinema going attendance. First of all, we couldn't have Mulan show, the Disney film, when Bloodshot was just about showing once the lockdown happened. We went into April, that could have been James Bond, big film. Tony Abrams' Fate of Alakada, massive film. We couldn't show that. We have Peter Rabbit, and we had a few other niche films that have done well. Remember, we also lost the Easter period. So again, to put the analysis to you, April last year was the second busiest month of 2019. We took 741 million in the box office. Now, if you consider that we've lost April, we lost about the last week in March, we've lost the first week in May, there's been an impact from middle February. So we've lost, in essence, maybe 12, 13 weeks, more 7 weeks of the shutdown and 6 weeks of impact. Between box office revenues and retail revenues for popcorn, drinks, and shawarma, and all the things you have in cinema, and advertising revenues, and all the other little revenues that cinema make on the side, easily about 2 billion would have been lost, over that period, if not more. I suspect more.
That's huge.
It's a lot huge. It's a lot for an emerging industry. It is a lot.
That's huge. So, I'd like to ask, how are you likely to cope with competitors via video on demand and streaming online? You definitely have competitors who also upload content. So how are you likely to cope with video on demand and and it's like.
So
In
I would
terms
not
of
be, yes, I would not be oblivious, here and say the competition doesn't exist or would not happen. The truth is, we're confronted with it now. Like, people are getting more and more comfortable watching, films on their screens. But one thing I'm resolute and reassured about is the Nigerian spirit and the innate, characteristic of a typical Nigerian. We want to socialize. We want to have people around us. That's why
sure.
we're big for the Owambe and the parties and the events. Cinema is not different, particularly if you give the audience the right content.
Yeah.
And like I said, because it's also relatively new, we're coming in with new technologies every day. Our friends at Genesis are coming with ScreenX. Our friends at Silverbird are coming, have the 4DX experience. We have the MX4D and the IMAX experience. And we bring in the right content. Look, I just think it's going to be hard to displace cinemas. Hopefully, COVID, we don't have a second wave. We don't have an extra challenge with this in Nigeria. I believe that you will see a real resurgence in cinemas. And look, we also have a duty as cinema operators. We have a duty to elevate the experience. We have a duty to ensure that our locations are very clean, our staff are courteous and helpful. Our systems, sound, lighting, vision, is of the best quality that people are talking about. And that when people, compare to watching stuff on their laptop, on their phone, they know that, I will still pay this premium to go to a cinema. And I think that that's the challenge we have to take on, to come out stronger and to ensure that we would always be that preferred premium viewing experience.
So let's talk about drive-in cinemas.
Interesting.
So what's your take on the drive-in cinema experience as far as Nigeria is concerned? I think it's a new concept, so I don't know how.
So I've been asked about this question, and look, again, I wear two hats. Cinema operator, true and true. That's where I got a lot of my experience from, and you would always, see me aligned, and my allegiance is that. But look, I'm also a distributor. My allegiance is also to where I can get money from, for my, partners, or our filmmakers, to ensure that they can continue to feed the ecosystem with great products, So when the idea of driving cinemas has been discussed, and a number of people have spoken, about it to me, I think it's welcome. I don't see it as a replacement to the cinema going. I think it's a complement. I think it's interesting to play around with different concepts. Again, the Nigerian spirit from a business standpoint is that we can always try out things. We can try out, learn from them. And it's great that it's being considered for, for the film industry. Look, in reality, just by the sheer amount of challenges one goes through in business, I think logistically, it needs to be thought of properly. So we're talking about the setup of the screen. We're talking about, the maintenance and the sound. How do you control the sound environment, sound elements? How do you control weather? You can't really. We're talking about, what generating sets will be used. How far away would it be? Where are the ideal environments that you can, use for this? And in terms of also watching, do you watch in your car? Do you get out of your car to watch? In a post-COVID world, what does that entail in terms of social distancing, and how do you enforce it? There are a lot of questions that I think require answering. So it's a great idea in an idea form, but in terms of implementation, in terms of also factoring in the peculiarities of the Nigerian, climate, I don't think it's as straightforward. But it's welcome.
Okay, thank you so much. So, dear listeners, feel free to drop your questions in case you have any for our special guest, MD of Filmone Entertainment. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Another question I have for you at Filmone as an organization is, how do you, I don't know, every organization has a plan to adapt at some point, because we've seen organizations laying off staff, we've seen organizations cutting pays. So what strategies are you likely to put in place for a system adaptation based on the current situation?
Look, this is the part that is always tough for, every entrepreneur, and business owner. There will be tough decisions that will need to be made going forward. It's just the reality of things we need to face. But in the tough decisions, I think that there are opportunities as well. The truth is that it's people that have gotten us to where we are today. So we've got to also recognize that fact. I think that the biggest hurdle is how we're able to communicate to our workforce, our suppliers, our vendors about understanding that we are in the process of transition, as it were. Nobody saw this coming, and we've all got to hold hands and work together and find ways of ensuring that the negative impact or effect of COVID is not more than what it is. So like I said, there will be tough decisions. There would be, right now, I don't know of any cinema company that's laid off anyone, but I think that as we go on, because we expect a level of cautiousness from guests, it might mean that we would have to be leaner in our in staffing, in our costs, and it might mean that we might not have the full complement of staff. But I think all of this can be done in such a way that it is collegial and we can find ways to communicate with the best of our people. As things get better, we can then continue to build the business together. So, it's difficult to talk about business operations or continuity strategy on a public platform, but we're working on various creative ways to ensure that the impact is as painless as it can be, even though it's really painful.
Sure. Okay, so most people will say, or let me not be a pessimist now. The government has been proposing all kinds of palliatives, to cushion the effect of COVID-19. Are there any proposed palliative measures from the Nigerian government to sustain the Nigerian movie industry going forward? I mean, once the pandemic is over.
Look, I was asked this question a few days ago, and I'm happy that for the first time in a while, at least since starting, Film House and Film One, we seem to have gotten the interest and attention of the government, and that was even confirmed by the committee that was announced about 2 days ago. As an association, we have engaged with the Lagos State government. I don't know if you know, Lagos State happens to host 50% of our members in terms of the city that has a lot of cinemas. In terms of box office shares, anywhere between 40 to 45%, and obviously has been the epicenter of COVID. So we've been engaging with the Lagos State government, and I have to say they've been very receptive. That's a good thing. Normally, the creative industry has always been neglected, even though ironically all our leaders have found a way of benefiting from the creative industries, from the things they wear, to the events that they go to. One way or the other, they're benefiting from entertainment, but for some reason, I've never really prioritized it, But what we're seeing now is there is a real intention, to let's listen to these guys. Let's also find out the people that are driving things in the various sectors, and see what we can do to help them. We're hoping that the intention and and what they're demonstrating right now translates to tangible stuff.
Yeah.
So we're talking tangible policy directives, tangible support in terms of access to funds, affordable funds, and we're talking in terms of how various ways that we can really kickstart this industry beyond just cinemas. Cinema is one side and very important. That's what we stand for. But other areas of the creative, ecosystem. So far, we're engaging. So far, a committee has been set up. A report will be sent in 4 weeks. From a cinema association point of view, we are reaching out to all the state governments that our members have cinemas in, and so far, I would say we have some attention. We want it to be more than that, and we'll be first to update once we get anything positive.
Yeah. I pray you get something positive eventually, because
Amen. Thank you.
entertainment is life. So let's go back to your partnerships. I understand that you launched a $1 million fund, a film fund with
Correct.
a Chinese company, Hua Hua Media, and
Yes.
South Africa's Empire Entertainment. Okay, do
Yes.
you want to give us the latest development on that and how it's
Yeah,
impacted your business?
we're very excited and happy, and again honored that we're able to close this film fund just in time before COVID hits. And for me, the way I express the film fund to anyone that cares to listen is, for the first time, we're able to make a business case, not emotional, not sentimental, a business case about the viability of filmmaking in our industry. So when Film One was set up, the idea of investing in films was to build out a model, over time. Hence the successes with the wedding party movies, the successes with the films we've done with AY, and some of other films that we've also done with Inkblot, for example. We've sat on
Yeah.
a number some really really useful data. Who is watching our films? Who they watch? How they get the information on the films? What works and what doesn't work? How long films typically last at the box office. Once films are out of the box office, who are those buying it on other platforms? A lot of information like that are the things that we sit on and analyze. And I think we're armed with that, and it was almost a no-brainer for our partners to come on board. And we just thought, rather than going for a very big amount, let's go for
Yeah.
something that we can contain. Let's go for something that will be impactful. And we're glad to say that we're looking at a good number of films, on to fund, with this fund we're able to create. We've done 2 films already. Another 6 are lined up, and we're happy because a lot of people have been asking also, in terms of the cinemas, what's the pipeline looking like in terms of product. We're happy that at least we have something to work with to get back, hopefully once COVID dies down, to make more films, for the cinema marketplace. Our partners, just a quick one about them. Wawa, they're one of the biggest in China, and they've demonstrated keen interest in the Nigerian and African market. South Africa, again, are as big as they come. Empire Entertainment, and they've been supportive all through the COVID period, and remain committed. And hopefully this will be the first of many film funds. And I hope, not just from a Film One perspective, I hope for the industry as well, that we can really really engineer content pipeline, and that is meshed in sound economic fundamentals, and basically are profitable.
Okay. So we understand that Film One was founded in 2012, so it's about 8 years now.
Film House 2012, Film One 2014.
Oh, right. So within this frame of time with your operations, what has been your greatest regret so far?
Wow. Regret.
You didn't expect that. Sorry.
I didn't expect that. Regrets since we opened up. So it's one of the external ones. So my greatest regret would have been the heavy devaluation of 2015, 2016.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly.
Okay.
Sorry.
Can you hear me now? Mike, can you hear me now? Okay.
Oh, better.
The devaluation of 2015, 2016 kind of set the cinemas back a lot. It meant that, so for example, our initial investment was in dollars, and we charge in naira, and overnight it became, it literally just became, we were 200% or 300% worse off. Yes. And then the recession followed. And, for us to beat that, that's what gives us confidence that we can always beat, the challenges we face. So for me, I wish that didn't happen. From a company standpoint, we've had some mishaps here and there with our locations that I wish did not happen. We've had to go through some heartbreak, but we've bounced back. That's, businesses go through. But I think that if we didn't have that setback with the devaluation and the recession, I think we would have seen an even stronger cinema sector by now. But look, where we take the lessons, and I like I said, I'm very, very sure that there's a global era for cinemas globally, but particularly Nigeria coming up.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, we've been speaking with the MD of Film House Entertainment. I keep mixing these things up.
No, you're fine. Film House Cinemas and Filmone Entertainment.
Yeah, Mr. Moses Babatope to the world, right? I'm loving this conversation. So I have one more question for you.
No worries.
Thank you so much for. So I have one more question, and the question is, let me look for one question. I don't know what question to ask you.
It's okay. Fine.
I mean, what makes you happy the most? And okay, let's just tell me what makes you happy the most. And I don't know, what's that thing that people do not know about you? What makes you happy the most, and what is the thing that people do not know about you?
Okay, so I'm going to say what makes me happy the most from a professional and personal standpoint. So let me put the professional one. What excites me is the level of talent that exists in Nigeria without infrastructure support, institutional support, without funding. Come on, it is great. Look, I'm excited. There are things that I'm exposed to and have access to. Obviously, for confidentiality reasons, I cannot, divulge. But when you see the sheer work and the sheer talent that people have, it just gives you goosebumps. It just makes you excited about possibilities, And when you, for example, when you see like our films, even though yes, it's in Nigerian domain, our films, The Setup and Love is War by Money Oboli, topping the Netflix charts against multi-million-dollar productions from Netflix, it just tells you there is a lot more to come. When you see people that don't hug the limelight doing great things in the background, is it our art scene? Is it our literature? Is it our culinary arts? Is it fashion? It's the sheer level of talent, and I'm grateful for what social media has done to express that. That really, really excites me. It excites me. I work with a bunch of amazing people at Filmone, amazing, selfless people that has walked through the storm and through all the challenges that we've gone through, and the great ideas they come up with, the resolute spirit to keep going on. That excites me. On a personal level, I'm a family man. I'm married to a great woman. I have 2 wonderful boys. I have a great support system. I have a great partner, a great co-founder, that we understand each other. We're fierce, businessmen, but we work together very well. The Filmone and Film House is a great family of people, that I depend on and rely on every day. And it's always about how can we do the best for them, and to make them happy. That really helps me. So my immediate family, I have great siblings as well. My parents, all those people are a great support system, but my family really does. When I look at their faces and what it was, 10, 12 years ago and what it is now, and their support over the years, that really, really, really makes me. And what people don't know about me, I always say, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to say it. I grew up in Deeper Life, Bible Church. My father is a Deeper Life pastor. I'm never ashamed about it. I'm unashamedly, unreservedly a Christian, a born-again Christian. I sang in the Deeper Life Youth Choir. I played, the keyboards, as a child, the Deeper Life Youth Choir, as in the youth ministry for years. One of my big, dreams is to do a faith-based movie one of these days. Yeah, so, I'm grounded. I pray it remains that way. Yeah, that's something about me that maybe a lot of people don't know. I think it's hard for people to associate, Deeper Life, which is a lot more conservative, Christian denomination, with, out and out entertainment like I represent.
Okay. So I'll take one question from Dare Oluwajuyitan. He said, maybe I missed this. Are there plans to change the layouts of the cinemas? If yes, can cinema work at suboptimal capacity?
Okay, so that's a good question. I think that's one point we didn't address. So a lot of the things that we're working with, again, I'll talk from an industry perspective for the cinemas across board, is ensuring that the minimum requirements by the governments are upheld. So people should wear face masks when they're coming in. We will not allow, entry without face masks. At the very worst case, perhaps we even sell face masks to ensure that you're compliant. Because as businesses, you don't want to also turn customers away. So as long as they're compliant, they come in. So use of sanitizers, temperature checks, that's something that we're looking at. In terms of the queuing system and spacing, we want to ensure that we're compliant with, social distancing policy. So in terms of also the messaging, so you come to our foyers, the screens are right there talking about safety steps. We're ensuring that we're following that. In terms of the screens, we're definitely at the minimum working at half capacity. That's what we're recommending, and our members have bought into that. I think globally as well, that's something that's being looked at. Or at least we're following the 1 meter or 1.5 meter rule, that we're following that. So that also we're not also sticking to just absolute numbers. So a screen might be 300 seats. So as long as we have people that are well trained and spacing people out, I think that we will be ensuring that they are safe, and just ensuring that our staff also are wearing protective clothing. So use of gloves, all that kind of stuff. There's no way any of our members, and particularly ourselves, would take health and safety post-COVID era lightly. It has to be the priority. And I want to assure anyone listening, and please tell your friends to tell a friend, that Nigerian cinemas would uphold the highest level of health and safety across all locations, particularly all members of the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria.
All right. So my very last question is coming from Cherry. Sorry, I don't know. Cherry Akpakpan. Did I call that well? I don't know. He's asking, how does one reach you to give you content?
All right, I just saw a comment on coming up, and I think it's very, very fantastic point. Ample time between films. Thank you so much for that, Bobos. And I think that's a great. Again, we're a very feedback-oriented organization, and we're always willing to hear other innovative ways that we can ensure people are safe. So look, we would ensure between film shows there's enough time to clean properly, not just clean on the surface, clean properly, and also ensuring that people that are waiting to go into the next screen, they're all adequately spaced out. It will call for a lot of logistics management, but I think we'll be able to be on top of it. And you said for Cherry that asked about how to get content to us, please send us an email, info@filmone.ng.com, and you would get someone get back to you within 24 hours. We do have a criteria. We do have a criteria for selecting films, but the person that corresponds with you would share that with you on how we can go forward.
All right, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. At this point in time, we'll have to draw the curtains, and we hope we can reach out to you later in the future. And keep doing what you do. We're proud of you, sir. We're proud of you.
Thank you so much again for this platform. Thank you for what Guardian do. Thank you. You've done that very consistently. Thank you for choosing us to speak to you today. And please, we're going to need you as we approach, hopefully, opening and post-opening time. I think that the cinema landscape is something that we all want to support and want to thrive, so that our creative industries can really make an impact, in getting Nigeria back, economically. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. So there you have it. We're happy that you joined in the conversation. Later in the future, I'm sure we would do so many great things together. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks.
Cool. we're going to end the live transmission right now in 3, 2, 1. Goodbye.
Bye.